I can sure ramble for days, can't I? That was this section 3 this morning. Anyways, we were last talking about thinking normally and how hard that is. It was one of the concerns when I first talked with Kat. It was one of my concerns that am I going to lose the sharpness of my mind? It's something that, a lot of people say is bipolar, a blessing or a curse, and pretty much a patented answer with most people that have bipolar is that it's a blessing if you ask them when they're in a mania or a hypomania, actually. Then they'll say it's a curse if they're in a depression, or if they're cleaning up the mess left over from a full-blown mania, they'll say it's a curse. So it kind of goes back and forth. And really, instead of going back and forth, I just kind of divided it up, where certain aspects of bipolar are a blessing and certain aspects are a curse. And for me, one of the aspects that was a huge blessing was not only how acute my thought processes were, but how fast they work. And so one of my concerns was that I would lose that speed of thought, if you will. And I did. Not by a lot, but I definitely noticed it. I had to think more about stuff. It didn't just process automatically. I had to put a conscious effort into coming up with the same conclusions that before would just happen automatically in my head. So that was a challenge. And but people didn't notice. It was so funny. I spent the last 9 months having to put a conscious thought process into stuff that would normally just pop into my head. And even with that, though, I thought I was in neutral, coasting downhill, with a headwind. And the people around me still felt that I was processing things very quickly, even though I thought I wasn't processing them fast. And the people that had known me for a number of years, they realized my thought processes were much slower, but they were still faster than the average person walking down the street. And what I found was so interesting, people don't like that fast thought process. It's an affront to people. It bothers them. They like a little bit of fast. They appreciate and respect when you're a little bit faster. And so I got a lot of respect on the job and with other people I worked with on a volunteer basis and folks in the county and whatnot. Got a lot of respect from them with the slower thought process. It was fast enough that they respected it, but it wasn't so fast it scared them. So that one I'm not sure. I'm not sure why a fast thought process would scare people, but I guess it does. So anyway, that was hard to get used to. Projects took me longer, but they had more focus to them, kind of, because focus was another thing. I didn't lose focus, but I couldn't get that real sharp HD quality focus on projects like I used to before. But that also freed me up to take care of other things. My brain wasn't so focused on a single project that I couldn't, at the end of the workday, 5 o'clock rolls around, put the project down and pick it up the next day. I could. Whereas with the bipolar, that's a challenge. It's hard for me to do that. I want to keep pushing forward until the project is done, which I'm back to now. Which I guess some people would consider a positive thing for the job, but it's really not. Because you ignore other projects that need to at least get started, and so I'm having challenges with that. But anyway, so those were a couple things I had to get used to. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by my surroundings. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. It's challenging. I mean, I could sit and ramble on about the details for days, but really, what difference is that going to make? Who's going to sit down through hours of me just rambling on about all these details? There has to be a better way to explain to people how it functions. I don't know, maybe in this process I'll find it. Let's see. I plan on doing this pretty regularly. This is the first time out, this series of videos here. But, any rate, so, there you are, 9 months of normal. Now I know how the other half lives. Trying not to be angry with them. It's similar to when I first started taking meds. I got diagnosed in 2002, at the age of 32. I was always afraid to go to the doctor, get diagnosed. And since I was born in 70, that's probably a good thing, because back then, boy, a diagnosis could really cause you a lot of grief, loss of freedom. We still had the main mental hospitals in California back then, the state hospitals. But, I don't know. My now ex-wife pushed me into getting a diagnosis. And she was so fervent about it that I went ahead and went, despite the fears of, a one-way ticket to club medicated, complete with straitjacket. And so, I went and got diagnosed. And first medication I was on was Zyprexa. Not a big fan of Zyprexa. I mean, outside of the weight gain, I really didn't have any side effects. But the weight gain was pretty bad. I went from 180 pounds to 260 in 3 months. That would be an 80-pound gain in 3 months, yeah, for the mathematically challenged. But I took it for about a year and a half, and when I first started taking it, wow, I got really ticked off at all the people that told me all those phrases that people with mental illness hear in their lives. What's wrong with you? Why did you do that? Get over it. You can do better. A lot of different things like that. And you can't explain why you did what you did, why you thought what you thought. And if you do explain it, they won't accept it half the time. They go, that makes no sense. Da, 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 da. And so, it's kind of like asking a one-legged man why he took so long to get up the stairs, without knowing that he's one-legged. What are you going to do? And he explains to him, well, I just have a hard time with it. I don't know. I can't tell you why. If he didn't know he was missing a leg, then what's he going to explain? I know, I'm sorry if I'm offending amputees. I apologize. Brother's an amputee, so maybe I'm a little too relaxed about it. We try and have a good sense of humor about it around the house. But I know that, depending on where you're at, it can be a very sensitive subject. So if I've offended you, I apologize. But I'm not without understanding. So, all that being what it is, I got diagnosed in 2002, and I looked around, and after being on meds, and I went, my gosh, all you people giving me this crap for all these years, y'all need to be shot. You have it so easy. But I had to put myself in check because, life is hard for each individual based on what that individual lives with. I guess there are some people that have an easy life, but I think most everybody in their own way has a difficult life to one extent or another. And so I put myself in check with that and really kind of backed up the wagon a bit, if you will. So, anyways, we're going to have to go on to another segment here, and I've lost track of how many they are, but we'll take a pause and we'll move on to that segment.